Hello, everybody. I was quiet earlier and wasn't on my microphone, but I did notice the raid coming through. Dryson, appreciate the raid. Welcome, everybody. I am doing senior development in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I am at Lafayette Regional, which is Kilo Lima Foxtrot Tango. This is an airport in Louisiana, and I am working on initial groundwork for the airport. As is my normal custom, when I start with a new airport property, I strip it of pretty much anything that's painted or placed on the airport, aside from certain non-visible and certain visible things. Usually, though, pretty much everything that's visible gets stripped. You're looking at the latest Bing imagery, but these squares, these rectangles, represent default buildings that I've removed. I've also added a little bit of vegetation, and I've tried to either remove vegetation or add it back in where necessary. I'm trying to get this particular runway done, or at least this side of this runway done today. So I've got some patches that I'm putting in to designate parts of the runway that have been, I guess, patched over or otherwise affected by wear and tear. This is a weird runway. This is the first time I've dealt with a runway where it has almost no markings on it whatsoever. So I continue the process now. And I am using what I believe is the latest version of the MSFS SDK, and it is possible that I might need to redo some pre-existing projects that I've worked on over the past few years because of the changes. And to be honest, that's okay. It's not something I'd like to do, but it is something that I'll need to do, especially as the day comes where I need to pay attention to FS 2024. So that's where I am. Yeah, I mean, like, you can keep certain default objects, and I have. I'm not removing absolutely every single default object. I'm removing most of the ones that are on the airport property. I might leave one or two behind, but I'm not totally sure that everything's gonna go. Not totally sure. So it's an adventure. It's a work in progress. Meanwhile, I need to add this material to replace taxi concrete, and we're going to prioritize it above the base layer. We're going to give it a fairly dark texture. This one's going to be darker than most. And then that's it. I've got like 5 or 6 more on this side, and then we'll continue. So, hello everybody. Welcome. We'll see what we do. I probably have another, I'd say, half an hour to 45 minutes on this, and then I'll probably stop for tonight, as I am going to be, headed back into work tomorrow. I'm probably going to forego talkie streams the rest of the week, at least until Friday night, just to be able to stay on point and do what's necessary. Let's do half a meter of fallout, and we'll call this 1129 runway patch 9. And that's what we have so far. But welcome. Thanks again, Dryson. Appreciate you coming through for the raid. And if anyone's lurking that hasn't followed my friend Dryson, I would strongly recommend you do so if you like flight sim content, along with my friend Kev Mikwa, who I like to call Kev, who also does flight sim content as well. He likes to fly cargo planes, and I like to hang out on his stream and crack dad jokes. So it works out. Great relationship. Now, let's Get rid of the ground merging here. I should probably get rid of the ground merging on this one, but it kind of doesn't matter that it's there because it's almost imperceptible. I say almost. So, pretty good. And now I need to probably do a thin slice of that through most of this patch here. Yes, yes you do, as you clearly demonstrated last time I stopped by, so happy for that. This is probably more asphalt like oil patching in terms of covering cracks or major blocked chunks, so I'm not sure how I'm going to treat this other than by maybe contouring it a little bit. But I'm not going to go bananas either. Like I don't want to emphasize every nook and cranny. This is just going to be stuff that was touched up or otherwise done for the sake of patching the asphalt runway up. First time I've dealt with patchwork like this, so I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's a little strange. Actually, it's more than a little strange, but again, I'm not thinking too hard about this. Oh yeah, it's scenery development time. Tabletop Android, welcome aboard, my friend. Good to have you here. Yes. Yes, they were. Well played, sir. Well played. So, what do we need? We need a new material. We need to remove ground merging. I need about a 1/4 meter of fall off, and we need to color this probably about as dark as it might get, which is probably going to be right around 20, maybe even darker. And there's another chunk, like right around there. Probably going to put another chunk in. I am exercising some artistic liberty with the asphalt patching, so this isn't going to be absolutely spot on perfect. I don't expect it to be, and honestly, I'm going to try to divest myself of as much perfectionism as humanly possible, because the less I worry about getting everything modeled absolutely perfectly, probably the faster I'll move. And the faster I move, the faster I can be done building the airport. Not that I want to be done already, but if I'm going to build, it would probably be to my best interest to do so in a manner consistent with and built for success. And being successful means sometimes understanding what you're facing, what you're dealing with, and sometimes it means making decisions quickly, very quickly. Sometimes way quicker than I'm accustomed to. So, let's enjoy the process while also making things happen. I might change the base layer to make the pavement look very grooved. I was pretty sure I saw road textures that were not too dissimilar from that. But I would probably say, for the most part, most of it's going to look a certain way. This actually could probably be all one piece, so tell you what, I might start over with this. Actually, I think I will. Oh no, he deleted stuff. Yes. Yes, I did. What's that? Okay. To make this different, I might actually include ground merging as well as blending the opacity to make this more transparent. But I think more or less, it's probably going to be even easier for me to just go with the flow. The taxi lines should probably show up above aprons. We'll see if they don't, and we'll make adjustments as necessary, even if after we make this entire layer. And then that should probably do it, unless, no, that's like clearly oil. I have to figure out how to map that, or just make apron textures that are like that. This is either going to work really well or it's going to suck really badly. And honestly, the sooner I find out, the better. And that's okay. Okay, so get rid of the other apron now. And now we have a base layer that I kind of got interrupted mid-cycle. So let's see. I'm going to click something and say continue editing. Resume edition. Okay, so what it means is I can probably go to the other apron. What? Ooh, interesting. Oh, I see. They were there for a reason. Got it. Got it, got it, got it, got it, got it. Yeah, so it goes all the way here. And now I can resume editing on the bottom. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so we don't have to throw this entire effort away. That's great. Only thing that sucks about this is that the editing is going to be done one single dot at a time because I finished working on it and it's just a little weirdo. But we'll take what we can, right? Okay, good. Any chance you use the piece GUI for the APO equalizer? I don't know what you mean. So we can just literally litter the scenery with apron patches and it won't critically affect rendering. The patches that I'm trying to apply shouldn't be that complex, so my hope, of course, is that it's not going to impact it significantly, and that I should be able to apply multiple layers. I mean, if you're going to manually recreate something incredibly ornate, then at some point, I'm assuming the mathematics of the problem will start wearing down your graphics card and your CPU. What I'm hoping for is that that's not the case here, but we'll definitely figure it out sooner or later. So my hope is that it does not become a problem, but we'll see. Always a hope. Always the hope. All right. Yeah, understood. Put that one on quiet mode. Alright, some more patches and I think we're done with that top layer. Or excuse me, that layer, period. Why is it a copy now? Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to label that. So we are on patch number 11. Yeah, I think I'm going to start to worry if I get to, you know, patch number 75, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. Not for this chunk anyway. All right. Here comes patch 12. Even if I get to like 30 patches for this runway, it'll probably be worth it just to be able to create that layer. An equalizer used to clean up audio. No, in which case I do not use it. I try to use the NVIDIA broadcast to reduce the amount of noise that my microphone makes and my environment makes. And normally my microphone's like down here, so if you hear me talking differently or if it's slightly cleaner at this point, that's probably why. But yeah, I think there's probably a lot that I can do to clean up my environment that I don't actually study. But what I try to do in general is probably practice a few principles. Keep the boom for my headset microphone as far away from my mouth as possible. Speak fairly loudly. Like my volume doesn't need to be boomy, but it doesn't need to be like super duper quiet, so that my sound system doesn't have to strain to pick up the nuances of my voice. The further away my boom is from my mouth, the less popping that I have. But there's also the equipment I can buy to eliminate that, both in post as well as in my physical setup. So it's probably something I should learn. That's a pretty good size for a patch. Let's go ahead and grab the material, drop it in. And do half a meter fall off. And removing ground merging makes things slightly better. So I could probably come all the way back here and figure out what I want to do. When I make the other side of this runway, either tonight or tomorrow, it'll probably include patchwork there as well. Let me just keep going down the other side in order so that I don't have to think very hard when I edit these pieces. That's interesting, Kev. I might have to look into that then. I appreciate the recommendation. Especially if it's going to help really normalize my mic or present a better overall sound for not that much effort. So I might have to remember that. Hmm. In one sense, I feel like I'm making a dumb mistake here, and that's great, because the sooner I make the mistake of applying patches instead of maybe looking for better decals, the better. But also, I don't think there are any default decals I can apply to this that will give the same effect, other than making this more transparent so that that bleeds through. I'm talking about the asphalt patching and the, I guess, the oil that's used to seal it. So I'm not gonna freak out about this. And this should be patch 12. No, 13 actually. And coloration. Of course, can't save it because we have an error because I had a mode ready to go. I mean, that most definitely looks like a patch. I wonder why they were doing that. Maybe they were grabbing a line or something underneath the runway. A plausible story. Oop. There we go. And where's my patch? Oh, it's outside of this grouping. Weird. That's okay. Point 5 is fine. No ground merging. Asphalt 10. Higher priority than the base layer. And there we go. Yes, this is, like I mentioned a long time ago, this is part of the unglamorous portion of scenery development. And you're going to get into this on more than one occasion, and you're going to be like, oh, I just need to do this about 500 more times, or at least 75 to 100. And you're going to be like, oof, like, how many more do I have to do? But I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm going to be a little challenged over the course of the next month, month and a half as I work on this, because I'm going to come across more than a few situations where I don't know what it is that's being developed. Also, it looks like there was once a center line here and taxi lines, and they're just not present, or the satellite imagery is not making this look very good. It seems very strange to me that this runway actually has no center line at all. Not to mention no edge lighting. But I don't know, I guess stranger things have happened. It does seem weird. Like, really weird. am here. I'm going to increase the ambient volume, so it's probably going to be about as loud as it's going to get, at least this stream anyway. That should do it, actually. Okay. And we have a bunch of aprons. And what else is left? Probably making this patch here, and I think it's going to be good enough for right now. So, what patch was that? Probably patch 16. That's what we're going to call it. Alright, let's put one more patch of work down on this side of the runway. That would be patch 17, and with the same asphalt, with 0.5 for the fall off, with no ground merging, higher priority, and a color around the same range as the other ones. We now have that final patch in place, and I can get rid of the one-click placing for the apron textures, save it, and maybe build it? No, I'll wait till I'm done to try to do a build. So we have all these patches to put in. Fortunately, they're almost all uniformly rectangular, so we should be okay. I still don't know how I'm going to map this, I guess, runway ceiling, but I'm probably going to grab a sufficiently good road texture and drape it over the runway. So that might be what we do next, actually. And I'm going to test that here by actually going back to the base layer. And now we're going to look for a suitable road replacement. And we're going to try to find it from, I think, here. Ground, rock. There should be a road. Nice idea, probably doesn't work though. That's actually not bad. That almost looks good enough to work with. What about stripes? Ooh. Stripe 2, what about stripe dirt? No, that's too much. Stripe 2 looks pretty good, but a little bit too uniform. That looks maybe, possibly, sufficiently borked enough to work with. $71 degrees might just work. It might. It looks like it's a little bit torqued though, so we're gonna have to be careful. This is 70 degrees, and honestly, 70 is gonna work pretty well if we're looking for uniform placement. Let's see, opacity. That's actually pretty good. I might create one more layer here where the grooves aren't as visible. That's pretty good. I'm fairly well pleased. Alright, so how many grooves were there? A few more than that. Actually, a few less than that, I should say. That's actually not bad. That's pretty close. Pretty close to what we had. So, it has to be 100% opacity because I don't want the aircraft to bleed through. So, I may have to add another layer on top, on the side, or bring the apron textures in, or just mask the airplane with a very similarly placed piece right where it's showing. I mean, I can make it 100% opaque and then bring it back in when I want, because I'm going to want to see the placement of everything before I'm done. We're not totally done yet, though. Not totally. Alright, I mean, we're done for the most part with placing a lot of things down, and I'm going to look for some decals and then probably work on this piece offline this evening or tomorrow, and that should take care of the east-west runway. In the meantime, I'm going to get up and use my legs for a few seconds and then come back and do a little bit more work before I call it a day. So stick around, folks. BRB.
Final approach checklist complete.
Hello friends, I have returned and I see Tabletop Android has subscribed with Prime. Thank you very much for the subscription, Tabletop Android. Appreciate your support. Yes, I am back. And yes, I do recommend taking breaks from time to time. But once again, thanks so much for your support. And I do appreciate it. Now, this is a nice runway, but it's nowhere near done. I do feel like there are certain things that I can do which are going to make it better. And part of the process is probably throwing some layers around really quickly that are going to help me differentiate certain pieces of the runway. So I'm going to do it now, mostly because it's bothering me. So I like to fix problems sometimes when I see them. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to cover this up entirely and then adjust it as I go. And that should cover up this piece in the back. And this is going to be runway 11 endpoint. And this is going to need to be a asphalt patch as well. Probably the same kind. And if I remove ground merging and check the opacity, then there's going to be some stuff that's going to bleed through that I kind of want to bleed through. What about the rest of the surface? Master surface layer, draw surface. This is 0 and it shows up on top of the other 0 because it was placed here last. So we're going to increase the priority to make sure it shows up above everything. And kind of like with the other layer, then we're going to need to differentiate it somewhat, but I'm not worried about that just right now. Okay, that's the end point. So we need to have other stuff show up too. I'm going to hide the master surface layer for now, just so I can see this endpoint better. And what we're doing is we are trying to figure out what's going on. Okay. Draw the surface. Okay, so prioritization doesn't mean anything. I wonder why it's not showing up. Oh, probably because my opacity needs to be turned on. DIGI. So the master surface layer is a 0. So I don't need this to be anything higher than a 1 right now. That's okay. And when you combine it with the master surface layer, then we have that set. Now, like I said before, I might actually bring the master surface layer in a teensy bit, or make it a bit more opaque, because I want to see these, and I want to know where I have to go to actually fix them. Or I can just stop drawing it, and then start bringing those decals into play. So that's the problem. I want to make this realistic. So the next thing I want to do then is I want to find or create patches that I can apply. So let's draw this surface for now so I can see those decals really easily. And as it turns out, we have a decals folder right here. So decals 1 is not visible. Decals 2. Oh, I see. It is visible. It's just hard to tell. Decals 3. Okay, those are like dirt packs. And Decal asphalt patch 1. Okay. And if we tile this up more, ooh, look at that. That might actually fix part of our problem if we don't care about the way that those oil slicks look. I'm not sure why that's decorated the way it is. Crack grunge. So that's like for the asphalt on the runway itself. Grunge 2. That's more dirt. Decal dirt. Decal dirt 2. I saw these are becoming very familiar to me. Round 1 and grunge 1. Road old 1. Bring that out. Oh, I see. So that's like for a piece of the road. Decal asphalt 1. And how about 2? How about 3? That's actually pretty cool. I might want to apply that, but I'm not worried about that right now. This is asphalt 3. Stewart 1. I have no idea what that is. And let's take a look at nondescript patches. Okay, that was patch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. How about ground decal? Road decal. Let's see road decal 2. Oof. Nice, beautifully loud patch of purple. And tire tracks. Tire tracks and tire tracks 2. I could have used those last night on the runway, but that's okay. I think I found my winner. Not the chevron. I think it was decals 2. No. It was patch 1. I think it was patch 1. Let me scale this up. The only problem with scaling this up is I may not like what I get out of it. So I'm going to have to use this one with caution. So let's replace that with asphalt 10 like we were before. And now what I can do is create a higher layer, which is going to take the asphalt patch, which is essentially what we're doing. Instead of repaving, we're patching. And we're going to need that in multiple spots on this runway. We're going to patch this and whatever's underneath that endpoint patch. And we're going to do it on both sides. So let's add some patches and go to town. Alright. This is going to be decidedly what's that? Do you need help? This might be good enough for a good test run. And now we're going to remove ground merging since we're going to apply that decal. And we're going to take batch 1. And we're going to override it. Alright, so we're going to name this 1129. runway decal one. Nice. That's very good. Just got told that Mrs. Digi's pathology results after her surgery came back clear, so praise the Lord for that. Very happy. Very happy about that. Alright, let's rotate this to, I guess, what, 70? 160? Wait, how does this work? And offset that. Vertical offset, thank you. Okay. So we're going to scale you a little bit more and offset you this way. That's actually not bad. And I don't care about ground merging. I'm replacing textures actually. And I think I need to do a few things. First thing I need to do is to turn on my runway texture. And then turn on this texture as well. And now I can take this and draw it above both layers and do a fall off of, let's see, 5 meters? 50 meters? Oh, no, not at all. What's 10? Oh, it's not going to matter past a certain point. 25. 25 does a little bit of drawing outside. About 12. 12 might be about as good as it's going to get, honestly. So let's do this. Let's enable coloration and color it absolutely dark. As dark as we can get it. This is gonna look weird, but at the same time, it is what it is. And the placement is pretty good. It feels a little big, but let's tone this down. Okay, so if we do 61 meters, then how's it gonna work? Okay, 48 was what we had before. Let's do 6 meter fallout, and now virtually everything except for that part is excluded. And now this looks like asphalt patching, and I'm going to stick it purely in the asphalt section there to make it look like it's actually getting patched. I might even take the merging down to a meter just so it blends in nicely, but it doesn't just cut off totally. I kind of like that. Okay, so I'll work with that for now, and I need to I think I'm going to blend this into the runway texture beneath it so that it's not that bad. Okay. Alright. We'll deal. And now I can add another patch for this side. And then probably patch the runway in a few spots right down the middle. Probably. Because it's mostly good. Mostly. Learning stuff like this is interesting. I like it. So let's add an apron. Do I want to apply the asphalt patching all the way to the end? There may be reasons why you do it. So I'm going to go a little bit past the border. And we're going to increase priority to 3 like we did before, and we're going to apply the same decal to this, which should be asphalt patch. Okay, so we're gonna crib from the other one which we placed, which is 160 with a 1 meter fall off and 48 meter tiling. With a 1 meter fall off and 48 meter tiling. Let's go. We will enable coloration and color this very dark. Very dark. And now we should be able to tile this into place. Okay. And again, the point of doing this is not so we nail this texture down absolutely perfectly. The point of doing this is so it's clear that this runway was used, that it was lived in. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. This is a first effort for me, so I'm learning as I'm going. I am learning as I'm going. So this can be a really, really big chunk of runway patching here. That was the other patch I just made, right? Yeah. We'll name this runway decal 2. Gonna go for a third. And at this point, I'm not sure if it's easier to duplicate and place it or go through the process of building it again. So let me just try to duplicate it and then move it. And what we're going to do is we're going to start patching chunks of asphalt. And we're going to probably make the texture tiling smaller. Down fall off will stay 1 meter. And now we have patching, which is going to happen on the runway itself. Well, the other patches were on the runway too, but this is going to be kind of like almost where you see it and you're running your wheels over it. And what do we have? This will be runway decal 3. This move for that was almost perfect. Which kind of makes me wonder. Alright, let's tile it. And then let's increase the tile size. And now we have 2 patches. And there we go, 2 major pieces that we've kind of patched up. And now we will apply a very large patch on the side. So we're going to duplicate this right to the bottom. Now, because we're dealing with the patch decal, I'm not going to worry too much about where I put the points or how many points I use, as long as I make this sufficiently good enough to place. Let's grab the other point and place it where it needs to go. Alright. And that should probably do it. Vertical offset is placed. And we're going to change the color just a little bit. Not a lot, just a teensy bit. Just to designate a change in color. And if I keep it here, it should be more or less wherever I want it to go. How many decals do we have? Do we have 5? Pretty sure we do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yep. Okay. Now, peel back. Now we have a bunch of patches applied. There's like 2 more to go. I'm gonna grab this patch. Again. We're gonna work on the 6th one. And this should, if we place them nicely, should take care of a problem. The only problem with decals is that they might be a issue. So what I can probably do is work on tiling them slightly more, bring them into view, and change the fall off to 1.25 meters. Okay, make this one decal 6. And duplicate it on the other side for 7, and I think we're done. At least with the decals on this side. Move that over here. And that's more or less it. Let's make this 46. And that should probably cover us. Okay, this one should be 7, I think. Yeah, it should be. Alright, and now we have a whole bunch of decals, and now we can take this runway texture, draw on it again, and barring touchdown zones with like tire dirt or whatnot, which we'll probably add in a little bit, we now have our patchy, not perfect runway surface, which I'm probably going to blend into the other spot. Actually, did I? It's 2.5. Okay. Why did I use 3 for these? I don't know. Alright, let's go through all these. These probably won't need anything higher than a 2. So, we'll bring the priority down. And that should probably do it. Okay. Got patches and whatnot. We've got a lot of patch work done on this runway. And there's even more patch work to be done on the other side. But there's a reason why I don't like this runway yet. There's something about this that's not speaking to me. There's a little bit more work that I have to do to make it look, I guess, ugly. And I think we have some missing pieces. So we're going to create 1 or 2 more patches or faded areas. And I think we're going to do this by putting that there, creating another area, and then coloring it differently. Okay. Zoom in here, clean this up. And that should probably work. Master surface. Master surface was asphalt stripe 1. But this is a patch, so it can just be asphalt 10. What's the color? It was 105. So like 97 with no ground merging and priority of, I would say, 2. And then I'd say this is like another patch, so it's not 15 or 16 or 17, I think it's patch 18. Okay. And if we draw the master surface layer, there we go. One problem is, it looks just invisible, so it needs to be a little bit darker. Oh, not you. You. You need to be darker. Okay. 81. That's a little bit better. And maybe a quarter meter of fall off. And then I think the last thing that we need to do is to apply a layer of dirt to this entire runway. Unless, of course, I want to add those vertical stripes, which really make it possible for you to see some of the weird things, which I'm not sure why they're there for in the first place, but I guess they were remnants of prior labels, probably prior labels. Right. Let's add a couple more of those lines. And, I mean, at this point I'm kind of starting to have fun, so I'm not worried about perfect placement. I'm probably going to pick asphalt 10 and 1129 runway unknown patch 1. And we're going to say quarter meter fall off, no ground merging, priority 2, and it's going to be a pretty dark coloration. Like 42 with a slightly messed up opacity. Yeah, right about 210 and 215 is like the threshold that I want to see. And we will duplicate this because it'll be easier to put over there. So we'll duplicate it. And this one fully opaque, and this one even darker. And we'll call this one unknown patch 2. And give this one a ½ meter fall off. And then we will re-enable the master surface layer, which is almost done. And now what I need to do is to do two things. Now I'm probably going to add some light touchdown marks down the middle of the runway. Not too badly, but I guess I need to figure out where they're going to go. So this calls for patience on my part. It does not look like this runway is used very much anymore. Like, very much at all. So I'm going to just use a lighter decal where I'm guessing a zone might be for touchdowns, and then we'll figure it out. So it's probably going to be like layer 4, and I'm going to make a general guess as to where touchdowns probably happen. I'm assuming it'll be somewhere between here and here. So, again, no ground merging. This one's going to be like priority 3 or 4. Actually, this should be 4. And for decals, we'll look for tire tracks 2 and place them. And probably 160, actually way less than that. That's weird. Okay, that's pretty good. The problem is it's not perfect. Okay, 70 is pretty good. Yeah. The one problem is that these tire textures are very much repetitive. What about tire tracks 1? That is too consistent. It's almost like it's better if it doesn't have any tire tracks at all. So honestly, that's probably what I'm gonna do. What was the other paint that I saw that was applied? What was I doing before? Road elements? Handicap spot. No, no, it was something else. It was something else. Could have been projected mesh, but I forget. Could have been. Oh, runway. No, no. Effects? Asphalt? How about road 1? No. Doesn't seem to work. Road elements. Front arrow. Interesting. That's interesting. I might have to experiment with that. Tire gum. Ooh. Ooh. That's interesting. It's still extremely repetitive, but I wonder. No, no. That's probably not going to work. No, no. So clearly that's not going to work at all. How about decals again? Road old. Decal asphalt 1. Where was it that I saw those decals before? Let me take a look at the other runway. Well, first off, I'm going to take off one quick placing, and then I'm going to go try to find the other touchdown zone marks, which I used here. This is Tire Tracks 01. Where'd that come from? Tire Tracks 01 and 02 came from decals. Default placement. Actually, save our progress first, and then grab default placement. And then we're going to add probably an overall dirt layer across the length and breadth of this entire runway. So this should probably work here. And then that should probably give it enough character to be useful. All right, let's look for dirt. Decal dirt 1, dirt 2, crack grunge, let's open decals 2, and decals 1. That's interesting, and I might change the opacity of the decal, but I need to find something better than that. Those patches don't work. These patches won't work. This patch, still too uniform. Decal asphalt 1. Excuse me, that was 3. Here's 2, and here's 1. Road old, grunge, and ground. Okay, so patch on a larger level. Nope. Doesn't make much of a difference. This actually does, though. This makes it look fairly grungy and dirty without being too obnoxious. So, I want to see the lines underneath it. Take away ground merging. And now, if we enable coloration and we make this darker, does that make a difference? There's something interesting happening here, and I kind of like it. So, if we change texture rotation, 70 should do it. And make it half transparent. Well, there we go. We've got a repetitive pattern, though. I don't like it. So let's go ahead and flip this to about 80 something. Make it like 75% solid. And now this looks really grungy. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure why. Oh, you know why? Probably because I made it that way. So if we make it somewhere like here, then it's almost like this road has seen way better days. And that's actually good. There's an inconsistency that I'm seeing kind of popping up here. And the cool thing about this is that we've created a multi-layered runway texture akin to what you see in satellite imagery without relying on a different satellite photo of our own. We're using the built-in materials that exist in the sim that come from what I believe are purely Asobo-based library placements. So theoretically, you could still create a pay-aware level scenery and release it, and these textures should be fair use. So, last thing I'm going to do is get out of camera mode for top-down and go to developer camera and take a look at the runway and see what it looks like. Again, I'm sincerely 100% not sure why the runway doesn't have any kind of labels or placements IRL, but let's take all this off and hide the editing circles for it. And now, there you go. You've got a runway with patches in it. And I think what I want to do is take this and make it a bit darker than what it is. And then I can close that again. And now you have a runway with dirt, with lines, with patches and segments of I guess, like oil or repaired portions. I gotta play around with my my coloring here, but I like what I see. I'm probably going to either potentially tinker with the coloration on this runway, or I'm going to leave it as is and focus on building this piece. What time is it? It's about 5:30 right now. If I take a little bit of time tonight, I can probably grind this out. However, I do need to get a few things done. I'm probably going to work on dinner, getting myself ready for the rest of my work week, and we'll see where we are. Depending on how things turn out, I might be able to work on this abandoned runway, which I think is going to need some physical things placed on it because it's no longer in use, and it'll probably be scrapped at one point. But I wanna include it for the sake of the scenery, including the abandoned or like X placements on it. So we've got the main runway in. We've got part of the east-west runway in, complete with patchwork. And it does actually have edge lighting. Whether or not I'm going to stick with the default edge lighting for this runway or use a custom placement, which will allow me to better take advantage of those places where the satellite thinks those lights should go, I don't know. I'm not going to overthink it too much. I want to move as fast as I can through everything that's required, especially since I need to figure out very quickly whether or not all these taxiways are actually available. If they are, great. If they're not, then I need to know what taxiways are being used. And one way I can kind of satisfy my curiosity is to check online. Tabletop Android, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate your Prime sub. Thank you so much, friend. Look for me to do at least 2 or 3 weekly streams where I don't talk at all. So if somebody raids, it's going to be a no audio stream, and I'm going to make that clear. More clear than I did today. But yeah, I'll be working on this and probably updating stuff and figuring out how I want this to look when I'm ready. But have a great night, friend, and take care. Wow, I have been working on this for about 2.5 hours today. I didn't even know that. That's cool. What I want to do before I head out is I want to see what the actual Bing imagery looks like, or the current Google Map imagery looks like for this airport. Okay. So it looked like they were working on replacing the taxiway not that far away from the airport, and they have 2 separate areas. They have a taxiway that leads to the taxiway that's by 11 and 29. That's right past the abandoned runway. It looks like it's actually blocked off, and the Bing imagery, what does that look like? What does that look like? Hold on. All right. That's weird. The old Bing imagery had a taxiway that kind of went almost up straight to where the FBO was, and the new Google Maps imagery has a taxiway that's paralleling the abandoned runway. I don't know how I'm going to deal with this, so I guess it's one step at a time for me. The current imagery that I have is the Bing Maps imagery, so I don't know if I'm going to render both these taxiways and then put objects on it to say, hey, this is abandoned, this isn't abandoned. I don't know. I might carve my own path and render both taxiways. I might use the absolute latest imagery available, if I can even find out which one that is. But I'm going to finish working on this runway because at least in the instance of both of these things, the runway looks like the runway looks. The runway has no centerline marking at all. It has no edge marking. It has edge lighting, but that is it. Also, I can't tell if the far section of the runway is closed off. It kinda sorta looks like it is. I guess I gotta learn. It looks blocked off. It looks blocked off, but I don't know. I could, in theory, do the same thing or just leave it unavailable. But the Google Maps imagery looks like they have an X on that end of the runway. And it looks like it has an X on the right, on the other end of the runway too. Again, why would they do that if that runway's still in operation? I guess that means that you can't take off from those portions of the runway and you have to go and do an intersection takeoff, which is okay if you're flying a GA aircraft anyway, because you won't need that much room to roll out. But I don't know. A teensy bit of me is saying, okay, Digi, what did you get yourself into? But it's okay. A challenge like this is good. Actually, this makes me think about this runway for a little while, but I'm not going to think about it too much. I'll probably get that during the quality assurance piece. Let me figure this out. There's a lot of taxiway aprons I need to render. There's a lot of work I need to do at the terminal. So I don't know what the best answer is going to be at either one of those questions. I mean, this is maybe the first airport that I've done with jetways, with a terminal, which I might try to render, at least in part. And there's a lot of work to do. There is a lot of work to do. So rendering the rest of this is something that I might do quietly in the next like half an hour. And then I probably will take a break and stop for the night. And then work on the other pieces as I have time. I might take a break from this airport the rest of this week, or if I don't, tomorrow might be the last night that I do anything on it, and then I might break back into Blender and start working on objects or figuring out how to render things better, or fix something else like Plymouth or the other airports I was working on. I have to sit down, I have to figure out what my schedule is going to be like, but I want to enjoy this again, and I don't want to overthink doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I want to render things as best I can. And that's basically going to be it. Basically. Alright. Folks, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut out for here. I will finish rendering this runway. This probably won't take me that long. And then I might post up on flightsim.co. If you want to follow the process, let me give you the link so that you can follow me there. And that should be my profile. That's right. So, here is my profile. And then you can follow me there as well. Otherwise, folks, it's going to go ahead and take care of it for me for now. Also, let me think. I think I said thank you to Winter the Cheetah for their sub. I forget. I think they subbed right after I signed off the last time I rendered, or when I was working on this last. I don't remember. At any rate, folks, thank you so much for your time. Have a great night, and like I always like to say, if you want true peace, you want the Prince of Peace, and that's Jesus Christ. Thank you, friends. Have a great night, and until next time, we'll see ya.